The following 20 Feet Deep documentary is brought to you by the Marshall County, Alabama Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Just these past 5 years, it seems like it's been the hottest lake probably in the country.
They want you to come to this town.
I don't think it's a coincidence that you see all these guys living here.
We all kind of live around this area for the same general reason, that our life pretty much revolves around fishing.
Guntersville is such a phenomenal location for professional bass fishermen.
Living right there at it is just, it's just awesome.
If you're a fisherman, this is where you want to be. I got goosebumps right now just talking about it because it's such a special place, you know, for the history of bass fishing.
I just kept learning more and more and more about that rig as the week progressed, and how many different places I could throw it on and how I could vary the depth, and it was just, you know, I got to where I could look at fish on the depth finder and know whether I could catch them or not.
I was probably 6, 7 years old, fished with my dad, and 73 now, so I've been fishing it quite a few years.
I'm Kenneth Barkley. I've been fishing Guntersville for 60 years. I'm better known as Rooster Barkley.
Well, I've lived close by for 53 years, which is how old I am, but I've been fishing over here for about 47 years.
I have been beat on this lake in a tournament with 7 bass that weighed 45 pounds. I got beat. Billy Ledbetter beat me with 46, beat me by a pound.
You can snag a 10-pound bass at any given time, and knowing that this is considered to be one of the best lakes in the country, it's just wonderful to be able to fish this close to home.
70s and early 80s, that's when the crankbait structure fishing went wild. Everybody threw the crankbait. Didn't many used to throw that big crankbait, but they seen what it could do. I mean, I went to scales lots of times with 30, 35, and 40 pounds with that big crankbait, simply because the others wasn't doing it.
Caught it 14-8. It's February the 19th, 1990, up here at what they call Murphy Hill. A lot of people ask me where I caught it, which I told them exactly where I caught it, because they don't believe you know how. Oh wow, she gets aggravated. A lot of times we meet fishermen or something, I'd go talking, you know, I never talk about it. Of course, she brings it up. You know how women are. But I just, you know, it really dawned on me, you know, really, you know, and I just don't really talk about it that much. Caught her in that little slip right over there. And that gentleman yonder, he netted it for me. When he put it in the net, the jig come out of his mouth.
The lake is the economic engine for the city of Guntersville. We're a very big touristy town. We love our lake, we love our fishermen, we love our recreational users, our business users. We are just very blessed to have that in our city, and it certainly helps us in many, many ways to provide what we need to do for the citizens and tourists alike when they come visit. These were the street pole banners when we had the Classic, and as you see, 2 of our resident champions actually signed this banner, and then Brandon was very nice and signed that one for me as well. But these were used on the street poles during the Classic, and we decided that we always wanted to remember this tournament because it was such a big deal for Guntersville. And so we had these framed and have them displayed in our office, and we're very proud of those.
Well, this was the corner I came around when I saw the lake and decided to buy the house. Well, first, you know, I was living in Texas for a little while, and then when I qualified for the elites, I had a buddy that was living in Huntsville, and he talked, remember Craig Dowling? A little bit, he's from Louisiana over there. We moved out here together and just was renting a house over in Huntsville. But that was my rookie year in 2007. And then about halfway through the year, you know, after making some money in the beginning of the year, I thought, I just got kind of sick of living in the city. Not that Huntsville's that big, but it was like, I just went looking for houses one day, and this was like the last house we looked at one day. I asked the realtor, said, well, let's look down at the bottom of the hill. She's like, oh, I've never been that far, we'll go look. And like, got around the corner and I could see the lake. I'm like, oh, is that Lake Guntersville? She's like, oh, I don't know. And got down to the bottom of the hill and there was waterfront, and I thought, okay, we can go sign the papers. I'm in on this house. Basically everything I have in this tackle room, I mean, used to carry with me on the road, but it all works out here. So that's why I got all this stuff. It's just a good way to kind of hone your skills out here, because like say the swim bait craze or the drop shot craze, or you know, any new technique that comes out, you can go out here and probably catch a really good limit of fish doing it and really get some confidence in it. Like, you know, I'd never really wanted to throw a drop shot out on a ledge until I started doing it out here and saw you could catch a 7-pounder doing it. So it's, or, you know, the hollow belly craze, and who knows, the 14-inch swim baits what'll be next. I remember a lot of guys would always call me and say, what's it like living there? We're thinking about moving there. And by God, they all started coming.
It was a big decision that we had to make. I don't think it was as big of a decision as, you know, going pro. Guntersville, for me, was like the NASCAR of Lake Norman, or the Lake Norman of NASCAR. You know, so many NASCAR drivers are up there on Lake Norman. And I mean, that's where NASCAR originated, up there in Charlotte. And you know, it was neat to me because they're all right there, all the test facilities and all where everything goes on. Well, Guntersville, as a professional fisherman, offers me, you know, every opportunity to become a better angler in every diverse, you know, thing that I couldn't learn in Florida. You know, a big swim bait or a drop shot or a jerk bait. I mean, you know, really to get tournament ready and to be, you know, sufficient with those baits. I think that was really what stuck in my mind, because I could do it all. When we moved here, it was just like, you know, it's like you were home. You know, it was when I went away on tournaments, my wife had all the support from neighbors and friends. The kids, you know, got accepted into school right away, and you know, didn't get, you know, they never wanted to make the adjustment to go back. And I think that was probably the you know, a really neat deciding factor in staying here. Yeah, well, right now we're headed to downtown Guntersville, which I'm gonna say is maybe a mile long. I remember driving down this road with my family and going to a parade that they actually threw after winning the Classic, and did a presentation and got a key to the city. It was just an awesome experience, and you know, for the town to, you know, just do that, it just blew my mind, you know. And that's how much they love bass fishing. That's how much Guntersville and Lake Guntersville mean to this town, and to me and my family, and to so many other pros that are around here now. I don't know that I would have built the same relationships with the people that, you know, in another city that I have here. From the senators to the congressmen to the mayors to, you know, just the people, and they're so down to earth. Yeah, right here under this pavilion, it's where the Classic takeoff was, but it's where I've held the kids camp for, you know, every year since I've been here. It just holds lots of memories right here, from Tony Satchery cooking for all the kids, and you know, having all these kids running out through here, fishing off the dock, watching the Classic takeoff right here. You know, you just put it all together, and you know, to me, you know, Guntersville is the bass fishing capital of the world. You always hear, man, you're lucky to live in Guntersville. Man, you're lucky to live near Lake Guntersville. You know, there's a lot of people that want to be here too. And, you know, I think the doors open up, you know, all the time. And, you know, when those doors open up, I think people take the opportunity to move to Lake Guntersville.
We lived in California, we just fished tournaments against each other, so we didn't, it's not like we hung out. We lived 8 hours apart.
Yeah.
San Diego guy, I'm Northern California.
Yeah, I was down in Southern California, which was, you know, a day's drive.
Long.
So
like people always think, I'm sure with you.
Yeah.
Oh, you hung out in San Francisco, Northern California, the mountains. Well, not really.
Not exactly.
It's like I haven't been to LA and San Diego, but like 2 times in my whole life.
A friend of mine who was fishing as a co-angler on the FLW Tour at the time asked me if he purchased a house in Guntersville, would I rent it from him? So right after the Cup, I came over here and I thought about, you know, I should get a roommate to help out with some of the expenses. And so I gave him a call. I said, hey, would you have any interest in coming up and splitting a place with me in Guntersville? He goes, absolutely.
I was actually telling the lady at the bank today, like, how many 23-year-olds come to Guntersville, Alabama, or North Alabama in general, and from California or anywhere else in the country, and say that they want to move here?
He and I rented a place together for like 2.5 years and just fished full time. And then soon after, Justin got married, moved out, got a house with his wife, and then I found a place of my own.
I literally will walk out in the summertime in my boxers and be like, what's up, Hawk? Like, people don't, when I say Kevin Hawk's my neighbor, like, literally, he's my neighbor.
I don't think it's a coincidence that you see all these guys living here, because there's just too many advantages for them not to be. I mean, if you look at the Elite Series roster, I think there's more anglers that live in Alabama than any other state, with Texas being a close second. And when you look at Alabama, the premier fishery in the state is Guntersville. I mean, there's a ton to choose from. You got Lay, Mitchell, Smith, Eufaula. I mean, there's a ton of really good places to fish, but Guntersville is most well-known and the most popular, just because of all of the previous Elite Series events, classics, and large tournaments we've had here.
This thing right here, I don't even know how that stand holds it, but super heavy trophy. There's just nothing like Alabama, and specifically North Alabama, for being centrally located, #1, and #2, having the best fishery on the Tennessee River, which is a type of fishery that we didn't have in California, so I knew I needed to get better at it right here in our backyard. So it was just really the perfect place.
I mean, I think regardless of who you live next to, I mean, you can just pick up a phone and call somebody, you know, one of your competitors or someone you fish with. With that being said, I mean, I think there's still advantages to seeing people face to face more often. I think you're more apt to talk maybe more in depth than you would if you were over the phone. And obviously coming over here, you know, I see firsthand some stuff that he's got going on in his garage, and he comes over to my place, and
we peep on each other's stuff.
We pretend like we're not, but we really do.
I saw a color jerkbait he had the other day when I went over there to drop my clothes off. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest, like, I'm upset that I left that out, because if I knew he was coming over, I wouldn't have done that.
I've been a member of Bass since 1972. I have every Bassmaster magazine since 1972. I was 12 years old when I joined Bass. My life passion has been bass fishing. You know, nobody really ever sits down at the coffee table and says, where in America do I want to live? Where's the greatest place in America? You know, with no job tying you to it necessarily. You know, you could have survived any place. You know, purely focused on the interest of fishing and location, the people. You You know, just all the decisions that would go into where to live. And here we settled at Guntersville, Alabama, of all the places in the world, at any cost, just know we ended up in Guntersville, Alabama. We send rods and reels all over the country, and and we've got that Guntersville, Alabama address, and well, this is right where we are. We're in the new industrial park at Lake Guntersville. The city was phenomenal. They're a fishing city. A lot of the revenue comes from the fishing industry, and they were so proud to have us, which made us really feel good. There's 3 Classic champions and a Forrest Wood Cup champion right here in Guntersville, and we all have moved here probably for different reasons. Mine was not only professional fishing driven, but also a community where I could move my business to. It was important that I had a community that was a fishing community. In Guntersville, Alabama, make no mistake, a large portion of their revenue comes from the fishing industry. Their tax dollars from all the people that come to fish Guntersville, the high number of tournaments that are here. We wanted that Guntersville, Alabama address for ducket fishing, so that was a major contributor for us. You can't go anywhere without seeing the lake, and for those of us that fish and love the water, I mean, it's just constant. On the way to work, I passed 3 or 4 parts of the lake. If you go to town, the city is actually built on a peninsula between Browns Creek and Spring Creek. So if you go to the post office, you go to City Hall, you go to the grocery store, you go out to eat, you cross the lake constantly, so you never get away from Lake Guntersville. I bought this piece of property at auction. It actually used to be a heavy equipment construction company. Had trucking, service bays, and I'm redoing. I took the office, completely redid it, took the shops, completely redid them, and we're right in the middle of getting the thing built. Welcome to Ducket Marine. I have a land business called Ducket Holdings, and I actually bought this at auction to lease. I bought this as a piece of lease property. Then it was kind of happening at the same time when I recognized North Alabama, this Guntersville area, ton of boats. The 9, 10, 11, tough market took a bunch of the boat dealers out of this area, and there's hardly anybody left. Those are the opportunities that happen in life, and all these pieces were out there. And I said, I think I'm gonna take that piece of property. I'm gonna take this group of people, because employees are the assets of your company. I mold all this together, and we should have a very successful marine dealership.
We're at the Lake Guntersville Yacht Club. Sounds really fancy. I mean, it's semi-fancy for Guntersville. And my parents had a boat here when me and my brother were real little, 26-foot boat, and then they got a bigger boat. We got a little bit older, and that's how it all started out here. Yeah, we would come whenever we could. I mean, like in high school, it was different for me. I had baseball. My brother, he quit playing sports to join his club, and he would leave class at 3 o'clock, drive his boat over here and fish on the weekends. And I mean, I can't even tell you how many days we spent at this marina.
When I was about 15, I really started to get into bass fishing out there and fished my first tournament out there. And so, all throughout high school, I was always on the lake. It gave me confidence that I could fish, and it was just if I wouldn't have had the lake right there and had all the tournament exposure and big tournaments come to the lake, I don't think I really wouldn't be here. So
as we got older, we're like, one day this is where we're going to live. This whole city is built around this lake. You've seen so many guys move here. They want to be here. If you're a fisherman, this is where you want to be.
Swim bait, deep cranking, football jig, punching, frog, drop shot, big worm, big spinner bait, chatter bait. You know, all those baits can work really good at, you know, at certain times of the year.
I really think if we would have been, my parents would have had a place on a lake that wasn't any good, we might not have caught the bug, but it's hard not to catch the bug when, you know, you grew up fishing small farm ponds and on Lake Guntersville. And even when we didn't have a clue what we were doing, we were still catching big ones.
It was a huge deal to make a move. I mean, you know, we had always talked about moving to Guntersville and retiring here when we got older.
Yeah.
And, you know, we got to thinking about it back when we were here in, I guess it was April of 15 for a tournament. I kind of got to looking around and I thought, why are we waiting? I mean, there's really no reason to be waiting.
Everywhere I stopped to fish a couple times just to, you know, because it was cold and breaking the boat in, and every time I'd stop, I mean, it's not 5 minutes, somebody rides by and they make a U-turn and come back and either start, you know, laughing and just saying, hey man, nice to meet you. I mean, we're from Pennsylvania, or we're from New Jersey, or we're from Illinois, we're from, the other day it was like Indiana, Ohio, people from everywhere. Yeah, the guys are going to come back over here today. They're actually supposed to break ground this week. They've already got the survey tape, you know, the lines out here, but they're gonna move it back a little further because they got it set a little too close to the road. We want to try to get as close to the water as possible back here. It sounds like a fairy tale, but I mean, right straight out there, I can see it. You know, a quarter of a mile from right here is when I heard the voice that day leading me back here again, and I came back and caught the 6 1/4 pounder and threw back a 5 1/4 that I won the Classic by 1 pound. If I hadn't made that move, I wouldn't have won that day, and that's the amazing thing about it, and I'll be able to see that right out off my boathouse, right out there. So I mean, you couldn't script that any better, and that's kind of the way this whole story has been.
This is Spring Creek and the Highway 431 bridge over here, and this is the bridge right as pre-spawn was coming around. Randy Howell made a conscious decision to come back here and fish that for the day. The whole entire bridge area was just packed with fans, packed with his family, even his kids was out here.
Here's the bridge right here, boom. Every time I cross it, I look up and I said, thank you, Jesus, man, every time I see it. I had so many great spectators here that day that a few of them would come down when it would be a lot of people. Sometimes guys would come down right on the corners and other people would watch out for him. They'd say, hey man, come up here, he's catching fish. So they'd all back him off, you know, casting across these corners, catching them, you know, every cast. It was unbelievable how many fish. Probably over 100 bass that day I caught, from 100 yards that way to 50 yards that way, one spot.
I think any lake would have had a huge impact on our life for sure.
Just because of the classic, but you know, yeah, they were having it here though, home state, all the people we already knew in the area,
and just
and the King's Home,
that was a big deal.
Yeah, everything being right here, and we're still, you know, where we want to be in the greatest lake and greatest little town on earth, us, but we're less than an hour away from where we were for the last 15, 17 years. So we're still not disconnected from our roots in the Trussville, Springville area. Everybody we've seen everywhere, I haven't had anybody not be friendly, anybody that's acted like, man, you guys are ruining it around here, too much attention on this lake. I just think this lake has been such a historical bass fishing, tournament fishing community for so many years that people have grown to know. That's what supports this economy here. I think everybody around here appreciates it because just about everybody's line of work is funded somehow because of the tourism around this lake, and I think that's what makes it all work. So I really believe people embrace it even more, embrace all of us being here, because we keep the attention and keep the people in here writing stories and doing TV shows and helping the tournament trails come here to make this continue to be one of the greatest tournament fishing communities in the country. So I think it all works out good for everybody.
Guntersville is the heartbeat of bass fishing.